Thanks for tuning in to another edition of the Vires and Numeris podcast, a Bryer.io production. Special thanks to our sponsors. As always, Thunder Games. Thunder Games creates games that integrate Bitcoin and process payments via the Lightning Network and run their own node. If you wish to connect, their public key is available over at Thunder, THNDR.games/. You can also check out their social media over there, and a link to their Telegram is provided. Thunder Games are making mobile games which enable players to win Bitcoin for free while using the Lightning Network to send prizes. I love to see what Thunder Games is up to and the advocacy of Bitcoin and the Lightning Network. So check them out, thundergames.com or thunder.games. The Bob Shop. The Bob Shop is the most diverse blockchain and crypto clothing store that I've come across on the web. They have it all: privacy coins, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bexy Exchange, Mimblewimble, hoodies, hats, shoes, tees. It's all over at bobcrypto.co. Zen Sports is a peer-to-peer decentralized application built on the Icon blockchain that enables players to set their own games, lines, and more using blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies. Players can get in and out of games with fiat or crypto and enjoy gambling from the comfort of their own homes with smaller fees than centralized bookmakers and casinos. Visit zensports.com and check them out. Make sure to gamble responsibly as always, and ensure gambling is legal in your jurisdiction. Lucio Paletti is a digital artist and self-described propagandist known for his iconic Bitcoin artworks. Lucio's number one goal is to spread the message that Bitcoin is better money. Check out luciopaletti.com. That's LucioPoletti.com. And he is the artist that created that beautiful Andy Warhol on the wall. Flashcoin. Flashcoin is a reinvention of Litecoin, built to scale for worldwide commerce and fast enough to handle everyday transactions. The flexible and easy to integrate core code allows exchanges and wallets to add Flash to their platform within hours. With settlement time of around 5 seconds and consensus within 2 minutes, anyone, anywhere can use Flash Mobile Wallet as easily as cash or credit card. Visit flashcoin.io and check out their map on there that allows you to see merchants around the world and providing, goods and services like the free market was intended, peer-to-peer, voluntarily. And remember, nothing written or spoken on Bryer.io should be interpreted as financial or investment advice. Always do your own research. You are the captain of your own ship. You are in control of your financial sovereignty. And please enjoy this. All right, this is the Vires and Numeris podcast, episode 28, presented to you by Bryer.io. Today, I have the Lunar Crush guys, CEO John Vazani and Chief Product Officer John Farjo. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks, my man.
Yeah,
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been keeping an eye on what you guys have been doing. You're popping up on my Twitter feed a lot more of late. I don't know what you obviously have the Twitter hack going, so we'll find out more about that as we get into this. So you guys are both American?
We are, at least I think we are, right? For the most part.
Pretty sure.
Should we talk about our 23andMe?
Yeah.
John, you got some Italian in you.
It was like 40% or something. It was a lot of Italian, and I thought it was French.
Yeah. So, when I got on here, I asked Joe if you guys were both in Italy or something. No, I'm joking.
I wish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Favorite place. Love it.
I'm always curious just a little bit about, the guests and their background. But since we got both you guys on, I want to make sure we get through all this today. I'm not going to get into the, where how you were as a student and stuff like that. I like to ask that kind of stuff. But so what did you guys do before Lunar Crush?
I could walk you through it a little bit. It's kind of, I think the journey starts with where we kind of found crypto. And I know for John, it was a little bit earlier than even me. He was the one that introduced it to me. In 2015, and it was just luckily at the time when Bitcoin was like $198 a coin, which probably should have bought a heck of a lot more than I did. But we worked in digital advertising at the time, and we were building apps, and websites and all that other good stuff. And, I actually have a finance, I come from a finance background. I've worked across a lot of different sectors. And I think for us, it was just finding like a new technology that had millions of applications and that was interesting. And, we started to go down the rabbit hole. John and I are just constantly always like spitballing product stuff. And, what if it did this? What if it did this? Holy shit, it could do this. What if we did this? What if we built, and so as we started to talk about that type of stuff, I think both of us just, had the entrepreneurial mindset, and we're just like, we have to build something in this space. We just have to do it. And so we just were talking about it lunches, after work, before work, and, kind of came up with, how do we trade? Like, how do you start to discover and learn about different cryptocurrencies, and why is it so hard? And how do I really know that this thing is real? How do I know Tezos is real versus a Zilliqa versus, a different coin that's number 1,000? And so we wanted to help people differentiate and create transparency around communities. So our saying is kind of without a community, there is no crypto. And so, we're identifying who has kind of these groundswell, grassroots, organic growth of community within the crypto space. And that's what we wanted to help identify. And our mission's really creating transparency in the space. And so that's kind of how we got here. And I think we both had some really eclectic experience along the way, but it just doesn't matter what we fall into. It's just building stuff.
So did you guys if you're an entrepreneur, I like having entrepreneurs and crypto, everybody involved in crypto, economists and stuff like that on here. You can't succeed obviously in entrepreneurship if you don't understand money. So did you guys have like an interest in economics, or was it more technology based, overall, or was there some sort of medium there that you guys were interested in both? I mean, obviously you saw the use case for Bitcoin. So was that already on your radar?
I think for me, this goes way back. It didn't dawn on me until like a year ago that this started for me with baseball cards. And, I'll go way back. I had an Apple II GS, the Woz edition back in the day, Commodore 64. Like I was into video games way, way back. And every month I would get the Beckett Baseball Card Monthly magazine to see the price of my cards. And I'd go to baseball card shows. And for me, I feel like it kind of started there, along with my dad got me into stocks, and I'd have the New York Times every Sunday, and it's kind of funny because it seems like obvious, but I didn't even realize it, and until I was talking to like a business coach a year ago, I was like, oh my god, that's where this started for me, and but I think it's funny though when you look back at that example, it was objective. A card is this much. You go into a baseball card shop, you're going to get this much if you sell it, and with crypto, it's weird, right? I mean, you're captive to who you're following, you're captive to what you're reading, and you're seeing a really small part of only what's happening right now. And so that's a huge problem. There's no historical filings for a company like a stock. The research is really, really fragmented. And the only way you really understand that research is if you understand how exchanges work, if you understand how these coins trade, what tokenomics even is. These are concepts that take years to understand. And so everyone coming in, they're crawling up onto Twitter. And I know like you're on Chainlink, for example, right? And I've seen you there many times. They're looking at frog memes, and they're looking at posts saying it's going to 100,000, and they're only seeing it from 37 people. And so, I'm going to give you a stat. We collect every single link and every single shared post and we spider those links similar to what Google would do. And we've collected 146,593 domains, not pages. And across those, there's tens of thousands of news websites for crypto, all of which, not all, but the majority of which, what they're doing? They're taking a random tweet, writing an article about it. I love it because Joe gets this a lot. Like, oh, Joe said this. Little blurb of a tweet creates an article. There's 19 other articles about this, but it's just a variant of it. And so what's the truth? Where is the source of truth? The source of truth is with the crowd, not with anyone. And so, because everyone's going to screw off and mess up and have their own
Right.
perspective. But if you look at everything in general, you're going to be led a little bit more towards a correct direction. And so that's what we're doing. And so, if you look at us capturing all of that data, it looks like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of posts every single day, hundreds of millions that we've collected per coin. And I think, again, I'm going to go right back to your question. Where this started for me was with baseball cards. So,
Well, I got this
long-winded
Nolan
answer.
Ryan rookies right here. So
Are you kidding? Is that a real one?
Oh.
your alley, I think. Yeah, it's for
Nice.
sale. Everything's for sale.
Wow.
Yeah. That wasn't planned either. That was just sitting there.
I'll pull the baseball card shop. If you walked into a shop, they'd give you half as much as it's worth and sell it at full price.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I think that we're like the trailblazers in this. Obviously this is still like the very early stages of this whole thing, and data is basically like the new currency. So as you can see with people like the biggest social media guys like Gary V, for example, people like that who are just absolutely crushing it and just parlaying that into all kinds of success on Wall Street and all over the place. I really am interested in what you guys are doing. So what is the I'm just gonna either one of you guys can take this, or both of you, however you want to do it. What is the elevator pitch if you were on the elevator and you're like, this is what Lunar Crush does, this is how it can benefit you? What is it?
It's pretty simple. I mean, Lunar Crush is a social listening platform that helps people invest better. It's a very simple elevator pitch, and it's we walk through a couple of different like pieces of language, because when you're in a space and it's a new space and you're doing something new, you kind of have this opportunity to write the original language of it, and it's just helping people make better decisions, really. And it's in whether it's crypto or investors, it's not so much traders, because we don't say traders because yes, there's a lot of trading and it's a speculative market at this point, but the majority of these people are buying and holding these, and they're just saying, hey, I'm a long-term investor, which one of these things, hey, I'm going to buy some Bitcoin. I might buy a little bit of Ethereum. And then with about 10 to 15% of my crypto portfolio, I'm looking for something else, and what is that other thing? And so for us, we just said the easiest way to explain this is social listening, because that's what it is. And that's what we're doing. And that is what drives the cryptocurrency market.
I love it. How many, when was the launch date, and how many employees do you guys have?
We launched, it was April of last year was our beta launch. So we launched and it didn't work. And we, we were out there, and I would say, we really started to kind of catch fire at the beginning of this year. We're a small company, and we went through a Techstars accelerator, which is kind of a large global accelerator. Middle of last year, about this time we were in that, and came out of that when John and I went full time in July of last year, and now we're up to 8 people.
Very cool. And this is a question that I think a lot of people would probably have for you guys. Twitter is, social media today. Like we're talking about getting in front of people, and obviously people are using bots and stuff. How do you guys cancel the bots out? That seems like that would be absolutely crucial to what you guys are doing.
Great question. I think there's really two sides to how we look at it. There's spam and bots, and then there's sentiment. And both of those are handled using machine learning, an artificial intelligence machine learning system that has built basically a library of crypto-specific terms that we kind of look at against every post. So every post that comes in, we look at it and we say, hey, is it bullish to bearish, maybe neutral? And then we also say, is it spam or not? And so we've actually us and our team, we've built this library from the ground up. We've trained it to get smarter and smarter. And that's kind of the direction where it goes. It's not perfect. Spam's very, very accurate. Sentiment's a lot harder, but it gets better and better. And that's really the key to machine learning is like, one day you're 63% accurate and you're trying really hard to get 64 and 65 and 66 and you keep going. And our spam collection's in the 90s. So we're like 92, 93% accurate on that one. And so, and that's a result of lots of training. And so it's kind of a never ending thing that we do. And how that kind of manifests itself is a few different metrics on the front end. We actually yes, we exclude spam from social volume, but we also have a spam activity metric. And what's fascinating about that is if you kind of look at when someone is going to spam, you have to ask why. What are they trying to do? And what we typically see is swarms of spam. Yes, there's always a little bit, but we tend to see a lot of spam activity whenever there's dramatic movements, and those could be up or down. But we've actually even had some funds use it as a trading indicator via our real-time API that we have. They're actually trading off of spam. So, and it's funny because our team when we first built this out, we were like, oh yeah, we can't have spam. And that's the first logical place you go. Yeah. We want to clean up all this garbage because there's so much garbage on Twitter, especially. And we're not just collecting Twitter, we're collecting, all sorts of stuff, Medium, YouTube, thousands of news sites, a lot of things. And so at first we excluded it, but we were collecting it. We said, no, let's make a metric out of it. And we did. And so, and that's accessible on every coin detail page on our site.
Quick follow-up. Which project spams the most?
Which project spams the most? That is, there's no uniform answer on that because it varies.
Okay.
It varies. And it also depends when you say most, if we're talking, numerically, it would be Bitcoin because it's the largest and represents sometimes 2/3 of the market in terms of social. So it would be Bitcoin. If we're talking a percentage of posts, it would be the lower you go in market cap, the greater we tend to see more spam happen, just relatively speaking.
Just trying to get their project out there at some level.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm glad you answered it. You gave me a very democratic answer off the bat there. Very political.
We love everyone.
Yeah, exactly. So, what do you guys have any particular projects that you really are involved in yourselves? I mean, I don't know if you. I mean, it seems like that's not something a conflict of interest to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we don't. There's no projects that we're involved in. I mean, since we're looking at the market all day, every day. I mean, sometimes people tend to come to us and they say, "Hey, you guys are spotlighting this project so much. Like, you must be biased." And I mean, we don't do any paid marketing. No, we don't take money from anyone to do any sort of marketing. I mean, everything is free. All the data is free. All you have to do is sign up. And so for us, it's about growth and like a democratic, space. And we want everyone to have access to this data and to be able to trade better and understand the market better. I mean, we do see standout projects sometimes. I mean, some weeks we see projects that are constantly ranking in our top alt rank. So they'll be in the top 10. And yeah, we're going to talk about that, but they've earned that spot and they're not paying us to do that. They're just doing a really good job of getting their ideas and their marketing out there. So that's to the extent of it. But yeah, no, we don't, there's nothing that we're hopping on. I mean, there are some projects that we think are pretty interesting. I mean, from the beginning, we've talked about, some things like Tezos, which we think are really interesting in solving some of the governance issues around, upgrades. And I mean, we've been fans from, Bitcoin since the beginning and Ethereum. And, we're always looking for new stuff out there. But I think right now it's just fun to see the entire space building and the DeFi space building and what that could kind of mean for the future of crypto and this next iteration of everything. But I mean, it's a crazy time right now. I mean, I know it's I'm just getting notifications right now that Tezos is dropping 15-20% an hour, but it's just the formality of what this space is. And it's fallen to levels that we haven't seen since last night, kind of moment in time thing. So that's always fun.
Yeah. So
I think I wanted to add a couple of things. One, spoke at the Global DeFi Summit last week, and I watched most of the day. And I've been trying like crazy, just like everyone. DeFi is a big deal, but some people are saying it's a pump and dump. It's 2017. It's ICOs again. And then you actually dive in a little bit, and you start to realize where the space is, and you start to realize what it's doing, and how what we're seeing now is really just barely scratching the surface. And we're heading towards a point where you're getting paid sitting in your chair because you have coins in your wallet. And you hear I think it hit me a lot. Like last week, I was listening to Sergey from Chainlink speak, and I know we've had it that like Chainlink's been like this massive rally the last week, especially. I feel like this entire space isn't even an inning, like the first inning. Like when you think of just how big the market is for like verifiable, monetizable data that's hooked into all of these DeFi solutions, something like Chainlink or Bent Protocol or Zap is another one, like these oracles are massively underrated. Like it's not even close. Like we're talking like if these were public companies, they'd be worth like hundreds of billions of dollars probably. Right. Because you look at the market for data and you look at the market for what smart contracts on top of that are going to bring, like barely starting.
I like the way you put that because I'm so anti-maximalist. I've been in Bitcoin since almost the beginning, and I just can't stand where a lot of these people that came in later on have kind of tried to make it all maximalism, like toxic maximalism. The benefit of the entire space is, you know, the sum of its parts and building up everything around it. I mean, you want as many people in blockchain as possible. You don't just want one protocol trying to monopolize the entire thing, and then you've just got a Bitcoin decree or whatever. And I don't agree with that. I think like you mentioned with DeFi, like a lot of people just are trying to claim that it's some ICO 2.0 or something like that, just some sort of trend. But this is the entire point of the space, is to have DeFi, these dApps created. So yeah, I like the way you put that. Do you guys have any sort of benefit? Would you benefit from, like, are there plans to you guys are Twitter centric, right? Are there plans to use other sorts of social media platforms in the future? Or like, would you have any sort of benefit from an Oracle like Link, or you mentioned Zap or DOS or something like that?
Yeah, we're not just Twitter centric. We actually have a lot of different things right now.
Okay.
So we've got Twitter, Reddit, Medium, YouTube, several thousand news sites that we pull data from.
You mentioned the news sites, yes.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to add more sources in the future, but it's not as simple as plug and play. And there's a lot of verification that goes on, and QA and optimization, and we have to do more training to make sure that it's accurate. You know, it's funny, like Joe mentioned, when we launched a year ago, it didn't work, and it did. It to a degree it did, but it's interesting how you could say one thing, like on one side it's a data thing, like the data is accurate or not, and on the other side it's a UX thing. Is it usable and useful? And so as we add more data, it's not just plug in a source. Sure, we could do that, but then the useful part kind of goes to the wayside. Like it's kind of like we have to think this through, the UX, what that means when we add another source. But we will be many, for sure.
So you could be using an Oracle, is that what you're telling me?
Certainly, yeah. Especially as a lot of this needs to be verifiable. And you know, right now we're a SaaS app. We're not a token coin blockchain app. And at some point, some of that could change and become more on chain. But we'll see.
That would be pretty cool. What is the you guys have the Galaxy score and the alt rank? Would you mind explaining how those work to people that might not be familiar with those?
Sure. Yeah, I can talk through that. So as we started to pull this data in, and we're pulling in things like social volume, which is kind of almost like unique pieces of content, so that you see like a Reddit post, you know, an entry, or a Twitter post, or a news article. Like these are unique pieces of social volume, right? And then you've got things like social engagement. So that starts to add up things like retweets, upvotes, likes. It starts to really understand the kind of the virality of a piece of content. And so as we started to pull some of these standardized things in, we said, well, we need to put this data together and create kind of an indication of where maybe the market would go, or where, like, what does this look like against a previous time period for this specific coin, and then against the marketplace. And so, you know, we're gonna come up with a lot of different proprietary metrics, but we started with the Galaxy score because we wanted to know not only how was social volume doing for something like Bitcoin, but what did the price momentum look like, and are these things correlated together, and how do we score that? And so the Galaxy score ends up being a coin's view against itself over time. And it's actually changing every 30, it's changing constantly. It's not changing as in a time period. It's changing when we get data, which is all of the time. And we're calculating that. And you got to think about a piece of social content. It doesn't work in the same way that price does. When price comes in from the exchanges, we know that price. You aggregate that, you determine what the price is, you push it out. If you tweet something, it's not at its maximum tweet potential at that moment, right? It might be at its maximum potential 5 hours from now, 10 hours from now, 30 hours from now. And so you kind of have to do a calculation in a different way to understand what the social volume and engagement looks like. And so with Galaxy Score, it's taking all that data in, it's looking at price momentum and MACD histograms, and we're looking at momentum and averaging, and we're putting that into a score that's 0 to 100. And so if a Galaxy score is higher, that means that in that moment, that means that there is social volume. It means that the price is moving. And if it's very high, it means that these things are correlated together. And so I kind of always say with Galaxy score, it's like caution a little bit, like advanced trader only type thing, more kind of algorithmic type bot stuff that really could take advantage of that. But it's also a good indicator to look at. And then alt rank is taking a lot of the social and the price and market volume, and it's ranking every project against each other. And so the number one rank is the best. And so you want a lower rank. And if something's ranking number one, that means that, it's got some good market volume. It means it's tradable. It means that it's probably beating Bitcoin when it comes to price movement. And it means that the social activity is going off. And so that's the one that we kind of steer people towards who are just getting started, or just maybe are intermediate and are on Lunar Crush. It's like, if something is in the top 20 alt rank and it's staying there, or the top 10, that means that you should be paying attention. Or if you're looking to trade something, you're saying, okay, I can at least feel confident that if something is in that top 20, that it has some volume. And so that's where we kind of pull those together, and it just gives us a nice feel for the market as far as entire market against each other and then coins against themselves.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So the Galaxy would be more like geared towards somebody who's doing more day trading, and then maybe the alt rank would be like a position sort of thing, like where you were only trading maybe a few times a month or something like that. Am I kind of getting that right? Is that what you'd say?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, you could probably do it for a little bit of both. I mean, if an alt rank is in the top two, like if it's in a 200 spot and then bam, it drops down into a top 50, I mean, that could be a swing trade. It could be a day trade, potentially, if you're saying that, hey, I think that this is going to continue to move up. So it's all about kind of the momentum there. But yes, you're right. It's like if you're someone that's, like we were talking about earlier, that's just getting in the market and looking for maybe something else to put that 5 to 10% of your crypto portfolio in, the alt rank would be a pretty cool place to go and discover some projects that you're going to feel pretty confident about.
Yeah, with things like the MACD and stuff, that seems like something that could change very quickly. So that's why I was curious about that.
Yeah, I want to add that I think, it's one thing, like right now I'm on our site, and the top 5 alt ranks are Swipe, Tezos, Drep, Coty, and Ergo. Now, for me, I know all about Swipe. It just posted about it like 30 minutes ago. Know all about Tezos. Know all about Coty. Never heard of Drep. Never invested in Ergo ever. Don't know. So I just discovered projects that are standing out. And when you dive into them, you realize, wow, social activity is up, price is up. What is going on? What are these? So it becomes a discoverability thing. I mean, Drep is what is this? It's a $2.1 million market cap. I never would have seen that if it wasn't for social activity. I'm never going to go down a market cap listing, go all the way to 2.1 million and find it.
Right.
And even if I did, what about it? Like, what's going on? I don't know. Am I going to go on Twitter and see my 6 people maybe talking about it? So
right. And it's like, would that coin does it have a sustained community over time, or was this a one-time social engagement spike? Right. So it's like, if, like John was saying before, it's like if he's on Twitter and he's seen some data about this coin and he's seen maybe one of his friends text him about it, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to buy that. And now you can go on a Lunar Crush and say, well, is it sustained? Has it sustained? Is this the mid portion of the upswing? Is this maybe the very, very beginning? Was there a news announcement? So you're starting to figure out in more detail, and you become an expert versus, scouring over the web for hours.
For somebody like me who does scour Twitter for hours a day, this is what we needed. We needed something like this. So I'm glad. Keep crushing it. I appreciate what you guys are doing. You're gonna save me a lot of time in the future. What would you say to people that want to get their stuff seen though? Like, you guys are aggregating all this data. You're looking at millions and millions of posts, and you see all these impressions and who's doing what, who's really crushing it in our echo chamber. What would you say? Like, what are the hashtags, or what are the, what do you do? What kind of advice do you have for that?
So, yeah, I literally just created a whole presentation on this exact topic, and I put it into two buckets. There's very simple, basic things that you can do, and then there's much more complex things. So I'll start with the basic ones. The basic ones, yeah, like use the tickers, use the hashtag, the name of the project. Again, I'm looking at swipe. Don't do hashtag swipe, do hashtag swipe wallet. Do ticker SXP in your post. Sure, simple, easy things. You'd be shocked at how many people don't do those simple things. And for them personally, or even for the projects, they're just losing eyeballs. So like simple stuff like that. But I think that there's a lot of other kind of tips, like don't just post something and then don't engage. Post something and create like an AMA out of every post. Like go deep. Don't post and walk away. And that's a big thing we see a lot. But I'd say more than anything, like what are you trying to do? Like everyone's trying to grow their following. What are you actually trying to do? Are you trying to drive someone somewhere? Are you trying to sell something? Are you trying to create a brand for yourself? What's your tone? Like set a benchmark. You're not going to hit your benchmark, and then you will if you keep optimizing. So it's some simple basic stuff like that. But the more complicated thing is like if you're like especially a business, or you have something that hang on one second here. Sorry, I did just miss the OK button. If you're a business like us, the biggest thing that we did was we said, okay, let's bake social into our product. And one of the things that we saw was like, hey, people are they're taking screenshots and sharing a lot of our stuff. So along the way of a user's journey, so whether they're signing up, is that an opportunity to refer their friends, or continuing to use our site? Is that an opportunity for them to share out insights? Let's make it so easy for them. Let's make it like real time. Let's actually, if they hit tweet out of our site, let's pass all that data. Let's tag all the right people. Let's reuse all the right tickers and the hashtags with one click. And let's do a perfect screenshot for Twitter. And so, and let's also track influencer activity, and let's let people share who the top influencers are. And so it's like baking that social activity into the product and letting the users do your social is way more important than us tweeting all day. And we still tweet all day, but letting users do that is key. It could be like if you've got like, let's say you have an education course, for example, learn to trade. Great, you got video content. You know how many other people have that? Like so many people have that. But what are you doing to make that go viral? Incentivize people to share it. Incentivize people to go through it, to advocate. And so that stuff's a lot harder, but it's actually a far bigger deal for a company to focus on. So simple stuff and complex stuff. That's all I'm getting at.
Yeah, a lot of good advice there. Carve out your niche, I would say. I think that's what I got from one of the things you were saying there is a lot of people like to talk about too many different things. You got to have a reason why people want to look at what you're posting, and the hashtags obviously help bring other people in that might not otherwise see you from the overall Twitter ecosystem. What was the date of the launch again that you guys launched? I'm sorry. What was the date?
April of 2019.
Okay, so you guys were around for when I think the bull market began, February of 19. Did you guys have any sort of implications that things were about to turn around? Did you have any sort of data that said, you know what, I think crypto winter's about over?
I don't know if we had any data. I mean, we just at the time, I mean, we were still in beta, but I think if I go back to my Twitter and I look at February 19, I think I called the end of it. And it was probably because of all the data that we were looking at, and it just felt different. I mean, I remember that one day there was like one buy that came in, and it took us from like 3,200 to 4,200
right
on Bitcoin. And I think that was sometime in February, and that was a big deal. And then it was like that kind of re-sparked the interest to say, oh boy, I think this is going to happen again. But we started following everything, much before that. But I think it's like some of the data that we had probably denoted that, there's more activity here. But I don't know, John, what do you think?
I've got a couple perspectives. I want to go back to the rise in 2017. And I'd like to, it always makes sense when you look backwards. Never when you're in it, you're just trying to analyze everything. But looking backwards at 2017, how many of your buddies were asking if they should buy Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever in 2017?
Not a ton, but they came around at the very end.
Yeah. And it's funny, but everyone was starting to talk about it, what should I do? How does this work? Oh, don't buy it. It's a scam. It was early.
Right.
And that kind of tapered off. And then the people, especially that didn't buy, they love to tell you, oh, you're losing so much money. They love that. Then it went the other direction. And then when we launched at the Crypto Invest Summit in Los Angeles, and in April of 2019. And when we were there, we were looking around, and it was this was the third Crypto Invest Summit, because they do them every 6 months. And maybe it was the fourth. And it was just the OGs were there. It was all the people that have been in this space for a while that are still remaining, still hanging on. They're some of the people that were there were their tokens are down 98%, but they're still there. Versus the one before, there was little small booths all down the hallway in the LA Convention Center, halfway down the hall, of, hey, check, here's my real estate ICO, my shared economy ICO, and especially all the projects from Asia, huge. And they were everywhere. And the one last April, there was none of them. And so I think that light bulb went off, oh my God, we're at the bottom. If this goes lower, crypto's done, or we're at the bottom. So didn't know it was the bottom, could have still been done. But you could definitely feel that sentiment and the pain, is what I would say, in April last year.
Yeah, I agree with you. I have a lot more respect for the projects that launched in a bear market. They weren't just trying to get that bull market pump, or you know what I mean. Those are the ones that I think you're kind of implying there, that may be around longer, that actually are here to build something that works, that aren't the ICO. Because I don't want to. There are going to be DeFi products that are just trash, but that are trying to capitalize on the movement towards decentralized finance, and they're just launching now. They put together a website, and they say they have they satisfy whatever. But the overall opinion of mine is that it's just the companies that were around building things. I'm really interested in privacy coins too, and I helped one of them get off the ground last year, and it was nobody knew we were in a bull market yet. We, like you said, we can look back and we say, we all think maybe February was the beginning of that, but when it's happening, nobody has any idea. So it's just interesting to look at.
I think another perspective too is it might be the start of a bull market, because we've seen something like Bitcoin move up. But man, when you go 2016, 2017, that alt run, we're not even close.
Right.
We're not even, we're a lot of these projects that have had, some of them have had huge moves. You're looking at them they might be 29 cents now, and they were only 5 cents in January. But you go back 2 years and you realize that, wow, it was $3. So or $5 or $10. And so you realize yes, we've had big moves off the bottom, because some of the world has realized, man, there's something here. And we've seen this a lot on several projects. But there's still a lot that are scams. There's a lot that are going to go to zero or close to it, because it's really hard for something to go to zero. But we've even seen, there's a certain network that I don't want to talk about, that we've been on before, launched a token, and you go to their site now, it's off. The token's still out there, traded on exchanges. And they were building this whole media empire, and the token's still out there.
That's pretty scary, yeah.
There's literally zero value to it, but it trades.
Right.
So that stuff exists. It's like companies launching tokens that can fail.
Yep.
There's a lot of that.
I think we just hit phase 2. If I had to put, of 3, I think we're just moving into the second phase of this bull market. So we're going to see a lot more of those ones that really don't add value here popping up in the next few months, I would imagine. What does the rest of this year look for you guys? Are there any sort of things in particular you want to talk about that you're working on, like adding to your site or anything like that?
John, I guess you could talk a little product. I mean,
Yeah,
for us, it's,
sure.
we still want to, the overall mission of what we're doing is transparency in the market and growing and getting out there and bringing more people into the fold that might not be crypto specific right now. And so we're talking with people about ways to potentially do that. But we're a software company. And I think, as we even get out there and we do more live streams, we do more media, and we kind of help educate and get people out there, we want to build cool shit. And so that's always going to be upfront for us, is building cool tools that get people excited and get people passionate about understanding the market. And we're constantly listening to customers and people coming into the site. So if you ever send us a DM or you're on the site messaging us, it's John and I getting it, and we're listening and we're trying to build into that. So.
Yeah, I think I'll back up and I'll chat a little bit about what is the architecture of our business a bit, and then we'll talk about some of the things that we're looking forward to building. So we've got lunarcrush.com, and on lunarcrush.com, that's where a user can access all of the insights, social metrics, market metrics, our proprietary key metrics like Galaxy Score and Alt Rank. We also have a correlation rank, which I love because it shows how correlated social activity is to price. And all of that, we have apps in there as well. You can compare 2 coins. We're going to add to that as well. You can see all of the combined feeds across all these sources. You can see real-time influencer activity, and all of that is free, and it will remain free. So we're providing a resource to the community because, first and foremost, we think the community hasn't been looking at the right data. And as much as we love to do TA and draw lines on charts too, there's way more data that we should be looking at to make informed decisions. And so it's not a knock on TA. TA is great, but you got to know why you're buying. You got to have conviction, or guess what you're going to do? You're going to sell at the wrong time, and you're going to buy at the wrong time. Typically, you buy high, sell low. And so we want to create more tools to help users understand the market and the coins that they're in and the coins they should be in. So all that will be free. We also have the other side to our business, which is our B2B side, really, which we have an API. We have a real-time WebSocket API that we call Lunar Stream, and that's a paid product. We have multiple exchanges and funds using that product right now, and it's even got a 2-week free trial, so people can kind of investigate it, see if it's something they want, either say, nah, forget about it, or keep going and keep building. And we have great documentation and all of that and support. We also have widgets. So we have a trading view integration for exchanges as well, so they can add social insights to a trading view chart. Pretty cool. And so those are kind of the 2 sides to our business. Now, on lunarcrush.com, we're going to be adding a lot more apps. We're going to be adding a lot more different things on there, and features as well. So either later today or tomorrow, we're going to be launching more of an announcement about sharing, because we just launched a whole new sharing capability on our site. So it's a lot.
Come on, drop it on here.
Well, sure. So if you wanted to share any insights, I kind of sort of hinted at it earlier, but you can, in 2 taps, share real-time insights right into Twitter, perfectly formatted, or it can share real-time influencer activity, again, perfectly formatted. Or I can grab a URL and paste it in, and it does this beautiful image that's also got real-time data in it. So if I posted it to Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn or wherever, it's like a real-time image that's getting, and all you do is copy and paste a URL. So making seamless sharing was our next big thing. And we've done that. There's more we're going to do, but we're in a really awesome place. And without even announcing it, we've probably had probably over 100 people already just find it and start sharing stuff on our site without even saying anything. So just in the last few days. So our next thing that we're focused on, I kind of hinted at it last week when we were at another conference, but we're currently alpha testing social alerts. And so we've got an alerting product that I almost hate to call it alerts because it's so much more. Imagine being able to say, I want to be alerted every time Tezos social volume hits a certain point on Telegram or on DM on Twitter or SMS or email. And then I say, hey, I want Tezos, I want Matic Network every time bullish sentiment gets to a certain point, and I want, Verge every time Verge like average sentiment hits here. So alert me on these things, right? And then maybe I want to track, well, what would my performance have been had I traded on these things? And so we build trading strategies out of that. And we can tell you, well, based upon these alerts, you would have made X%. And so we're currently alpha testing this. There's it's like more of a freemium version, this product inside of our platform. And so, yeah, you can set a few alerts for free. Price alerts are free. And then as we move forward, it is a paid product, cheap. It's a cheap paid product. It's a no-brainer. Makes absolutely no sense to not fork up a few bucks and try it out. So far, the results have been awesome. But again, another one of those things of like, the data's great, the idea is great, the application's great. Let's get that user experience as good as we can before we launch it. And so we're taking our time on it. But I'd say there's other things too, like more apps that we're going to build out, like an app itself, focusing on things like a mobile app and things like that. And then really supporting the projects, probably more than anything. The projects have been reaching out to us because we're fully aligned with the projects. Like they're startups. They're
Right.
startups that want to grow. They want to measure what they're doing. They want to improve on what they're doing. And we want to help them, all of them, to do that, to resonate with their users and build tools to help them. So
Very cool.
that's what I will give you. That's what I'll give you today.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. You're on here dropping some news bombs. I love it. We got about 6 minutes here, I think. So I just want to get through these last couple questions really quickly. What would you say real quick? Like, what have you learned about launching this type of business?
Man, the number of lessons that we've learned along the way are probably, they're numerous. I would say with any startup, it's, some of the advice around it, this being my second, and, John's launched companies and products and divisions and everything before. It's patience, and it's, really understanding that, as in a startup, sometimes you tend to, because you're so passionate and it's yours, you tend to just run full steam ahead. And the amount of time that it takes to get these things off the ground and to do it are a lot longer than you think. And so it's about patience, and it's not about like changing your life, that you're not going to do anything until this startup is super successful. If that's the case, you're losing your family, you're losing all sorts of things, because you need to get past that first even 6 to 8 months. You need to sustain for years, right? And so I would say that that's something that, coming into this a second time, I think it's been a lot, the equilibrium, of what's going on, I think, with the team and everything else, and the patience and the calmness, I think has been really awesome for us. So I would say that was what we've learned the second time. I think in the crypto space, something that we've definitely learned is how international this business is. And I think at first when we started, I think we definitely had a better idea, just because there were a lot of things coming out of Singapore and South Korea. And, there was a lot going on in Eastern Europe, and, even Australia and New Zealand, and some of the exchanges could be anywhere in South America. And then we started, and when we first started, we launched, and yeah, we were a little bit smaller, but I would say about 70% of our traffic was coming from the United States. And now here we are about just over a year later, and our traffic is 1,000x what it was, and only 25% of the traffic is coming from the United States. And so it's a very international business. I mean, if you're doing these podcasts, right, like you're talking to people in Singapore, you're talking, you're on with people at 5 a.m., you're on with people at night, and it's just something you kind of get used to, and you start to genuinely really enjoy, is to understand that there are people all over the world that are working on this space, and to be excited. And so, for us, living here in the US, it's, it's at some point, we're going to have to go from just business building to, politics and regulation building, and helping these people really understand the true value, because I do believe in the US that we are falling behind when it comes to regulation on some of this stuff, and we're losing lots of innovation offshore.
I agree with that 100%. That's why I got in this space, was free markets. And then I've met, like, through selling my own books. I collect a lot of data too, personally. So I love that you guys are doing it. My books have sold in over 40 countries. Like, I didn't know that. Like, I thought that this was going to happen, but it's like, it's happening. So it's very cool to see, like you mentioned, having podcasts with people all over the world, and just meeting. I've met some of my best friends just like this. This like DMing somebody, hey, do you want to come on the podcast, or are you interested in reading this? So there's a lot of people out there that are ready for change, and like you mentioned earlier, it's going to come via software.
All right, it's your turn. I want to hear a plug. I don't know about your book. Tell us all about your book.
I've written 2 short books. They're 50 pages each. Blockchain Project Renaissance 1 and 2. The first one came out in 2018, and the last one came out late last year. So they're all about just Austrian economics, sound money, free markets. What'd you say?
The time for number 3.
Right. Yeah, I've started on that. I'm actually going to put together a documentary. I started on that too. So I've got a lot of stuff going on, but yeah, I might hit you guys up about joining in on that if you're interested. Yeah, sweet. Last question here. Actually, two quick ones. What do you guys have any particular idea? Like, I've sort of chose, I don't know, there's something about the number $65,000 Bitcoin. I think it could definitely go higher than that, but that's sort of like my conservative estimate. You guys have any sort of like idea about where you think it could go in the next, and then how long do you think this market's going to last? I sort of think till 21, beginning of 22, beginning of 2022.
John, what's your price prediction on Bitcoin for the next 6 months, ending on December 1st now?
I hate going on camera talking about this kind of stuff, but
that's why it's fun. That's why.
So I'm going to look at this I'm going to back up a little bit and go, like, where is the world? And Joe's so sick and tired of me giving my, like, look at what the rich people are doing speech, but look at what the rich people are doing right now. And we're in Southern California. There's a lot of rich people at the beaches here. I mean, a home, there are homes down in, like, Laguna Beach between the two of us where we live. There's homes on the coast that are $25 million. There's homes that are $60 million. And when you see the homes that are $4 million and people are doing a $2 million remodel to make it worth 8 to 10, why? Why are they doing that in the middle of a pandemic? Why is gold going up? Why is Bitcoin going up? We also have, like the politics in the United States are just insane. We've never seen this in our life. Like, the polarization of people. We've never seen money printing like this. And if there's money printing like this in the US, the rest of the world can't quite print money like we can. And so, I think when you look at all of this rolled up together, it's about as bullish a case you could make for Bitcoin. And I would say all of crypto, but I look at it like Bitcoin's like an on-ramp. Bitcoin is like the base layer of all of this that is where people start, and it's just because it's everywhere, right? It's every exchange. Everyone has Bitcoin. It's where grandma goes to get her first, Satoshis on Coinbase. And when I look at all of this together, I think it paints a case for multi 6-figure Bitcoin. And like, I'm in that camp of, like, I literally think that we're going that high. I also say, like, you look at, like, one of our investors is Tim Draper. You look at his price predictions. They seemed crazy. They seemed crazy when he called 10,000. Seemed crazy when he said it was going to, what's his newest one? Is it 250, 150? I don't even know anymore. 125?
225.
By next year. 225.
Oh, yes, 220.
By next year.
I'm a big fan of Tim Draper, so I like to say, yeah.
Like, I'm not going to go that high yet, but I would say that if you just look at, only 21 million people can ever own one, and some of those are lost. That's not a lot of people, and there's a whole lot of demand that's building. So multi, 100,000, 200,000 does not seem crazy to me. And I think it might happen faster than people think.
Tim's was like 5% of money supply, and that gets to 225. And I mean, it's reasonable. I think, there's a lot of things that could happen in the more of the macroeconomic, scale of, maybe not the United States, but maybe a mid to small size sovereign entity, a country moves to Bitcoin as its currency, and it's not crazy to think that, simply because if you're Venezuela, or if you're, maybe an African country or an Eastern European country, and you've got a lot of inflation, and, you're losing, like, I mean, in some cases, 1,000% a month.
Right.
I mean, the volatility of even a 50% move in Bitcoin, which has only happened like 5 times in the course of its history, is not a big move for you. 20% up, 20% down doesn't matter. That's not even close to what they're deteriorating their own currency with the printing, which we're worried about here a little bit. I think it's a different scenario. I think we are seeing inflation in a different way. But I would say that even today, I think about it as like new economy, old economy a little bit. And if you look at what's happened after the kind of, the scare at the beginning of the coronavirus, where in the first 2 weeks, everything was tanking, didn't matter if it was gold or Bitcoin, and the currency we all thought potentially might be toilet paper, because that's what people were rushing to get. And so we just didn't know. And then, for the next probably 3 months, you saw a deep correlation between the broader stock market and Bitcoin and all the rest of the alts kind of following suit. But now you're seeing something slightly different. You're seeing the DeFi market kind of pick up, and you're seeing all those prices appreciate. But you're seeing something very specific in the last week, which is gold, Bitcoin, and the NASDAQ are moving together.
Right.
And then you're seeing the old economy of the Dow moving separately, right? And so these kind of value consumer staple type things are potentially going to be there. But this old economy in the Dow, so that today the Dow was up, but the NASDAQ is down, Bitcoin is down, gold is down. That's interesting, right? And so these are things that people are saying, what are we moving into? Are we moving more into a Corona kind of new economy? And then those things are going to kind of, I think, battle it out. I think you are going to see things like bank stocks and some of these logistics companies. I think they're going to actually skyrocket over like the next year and a half once we get back to a slightly old economy, but this new economy will stay. Right. And Bitcoin, I mean, obviously has to lead the way in something like that. And I think it will, because it's tracking today like it's going to.
There's really no way out of all the printing that has been done. When Roosevelt confiscated the gold in 1933, it was like $30 an ounce or $35 an ounce I'd give you. Today, gold's over $1,200 or $2,000 for the first time ever. So we know what's going on. We're all in the same club here. Last question.
That's like 1 month of chain link, though. That's literally nothing.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? You talk about banks. You talk about banks, and we talked about DeFi. You know, it's crazy because if I had $1 in Bank of America right now, in a year, in a savings account, in a year, what's that worth? It's probably negative because of all their fees on top of it. But I'm going to get 0.05% interest rate on that money, on that dollar. I could put that same dollar into any number of different DeFi solutions and get anywhere between 6 to 10%. And
even if you hold a stable coin that's based on
a stable coin,
you're actually going to have more value in 1-to-1. So
yeah. So I could put in a stable coin. There's other coins I like, even like there's wallet tokens that spin off 20%. Like Atomic Wallet spins off a 20% dividend, if you call it. But you know, if you look at that, you could say, well, one's FDIC insured and safe, and you know it's in that building down the corner that you can walk over to that has an ATM outside and all that. You could say that. And you could say DeFi is risky, and my answer to that is until it's not.
Right.
Until it's not. And yes, it's a problem today. It won't be. It will be solved. The security, the safety, the warm and fuzzy feeling that people, you know, putting their money in a bank get, that will happen in DeFi. It's early. This has been like 6 months. Basically.
Yeah, you build them and they break, and then you build them again.
And when that happens, why on earth are you going to go run to the bank to put your dollar in there? When it becomes so easy just from my phone, I take my bucks out of my bank and I put it into that DeFi thing, just totally seamless. Kind of, or if Coinbase or Binance were to go, just by having your money in your wallet on this exchange, which is fully insured. If we were to ever get hacked, you'll get your money back. Don't worry about it. Oh yeah. You're also going to get 8% on that dollar that you have in there, just sitting there. You don't need to do anything. So like, we're going to head there. And when that happens, I don't want to call it game over for banks, because it's like going to take forever. But I mean, if you're under the age of 30, 40 even, and you see this out there, who wants 8% versus 0.05%? Yeah. And fully like, hey, it's your money, you can use it now, and you could throw it into your swipe wallet or whatever it is, your crypto.com wallet. You could just start spending it immediately. I think it's a sea change that's about to happen. That's why I think this whole space is worth many trillions more than it is today. That alone, let alone everything else.
I totally agree with you on that. I know Joe's got to go here in a minute. Last question for you guys. Sorry. Just real quick. What I ask everybody at the end of the show this, what does, you guys both answer this one for me, please. What does Bitcoin mean to you? I mean, we've kind of talked about it, but just, in a couple sentences, maybe.
What does Bitcoin mean? I think Bitcoin is like a demarcation of innovation and the way that the internet wants to live, and the way that the globe can interact more efficiently. I mean, I think that turns into, like, people talk about someone who's like a globalist, right? And that's like, some people think that's a really bad thing, and some people think that's a really good thing, and they don't really know. Does that mean you're like a Marxist? No one really knows what that means. But it's, if anyone's ever traveled the world and interacted at like a local bar and had local cuisine with someone, in different corners of the world, what you realize is that there are so many rich experiences that you can be a part of and that you can have by understanding different people and the way that they grew up and where they came from. And for me, crypto is really it's a step into the future of being closer with people that are maybe different, right? It's almost like I have this vision of the future where, you're almost like on a chat roulette, and then you talk to someone and it's just instantly translating. So I could just be speaking in English and talking to someone in Mandarin instantaneously and just ask them, what's a day in the life, right? And it's like that. I think that is an amazing future that we can live in. And I do think currency is a huge part of that. And it's about freedom. And, in the US, a lot of times you don't realize how good we have it, and things are FDIC insured, and you're not worried about just someone taking your money out of the bank. And in other parts of the world, they're worried about that. And so it's, I'm glad that, it's huge here in the US, and we're somewhat leading the way. But for me, I mean, Bitcoin was the start of that. And it's like, thank you, Satoshi, whoever they are. And thank you for being anonymous. I think that is a huge key to why there is success there. Because I do think that a human most likely doesn't have the discipline, unless it's some very obscure monk somewhere that has this insane, has a 20-minute breath hold and has some crazy discipline. Because I think that was an amazing thing that happened, where it's like that person isn't here, and they're kind of leading the way into that future. So long-winded answer.
That was good. That's a good one. Go ahead, John.
Can I go back to baseball cards again?
Yeah, go ahead. I like the analogy. So
I'll go back and I'll go, so here you go. Like you got to go buy a box of cards. You're opening up every packet. You have to buy a binder and some sleeves just in case you get the Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card. And you gotta make sure that it's protected. And then you got to buy boxes to store these things in. And then when I want to sell them, I got to go to the middleman, the card shop, who's going to give me 50% of what it's worth, 55% if I'm super lucky that day. And then I got to go to a card show and bargain with people. And all of these people there's a bunch of middlemen everywhere, right? And to me, Bitcoin is efficiency. It removes all that middleman. It lets me pay. I could pay you right now. You could hold up a QR code right now and I pay you, and it's yours. And if you were in Argentina, it's not going to go through 9 different international agencies of money transfer and banks and then be held for 3 weeks before the $100 that I sent you, you now get $67.50. Like I'm paying you $100, you're going to get like $99.90 or something right now, and it's yours. So I go back to like that nonsense. It's just like when you buy a house. How many middlemen are in the middle of you buying a house? And if you're renting, there's probably even more middlemen. You just don't know it. And like, you know, there's like all of that is just a complete and total loss of economic viability for society. Like all of these middlemen are scraping little bits away from every single person. And I think that's what I'm most excited about. Like when I see a lot of the projects and what they're all trying to do, no, I don't think Bitcoin can do it all. I don't think all the altcoins can do it all. I think the community can do it together. And you just stop fighting. There needs to be no such thing as a maximalist. The maximalist should be, we're maximalizing on improving society. That's where people should be maximalizing around. If some new project that doesn't exist, that it comes out and it's better than everything and it works better for everyone, like, cool, great. Like how it's, you know, open market. Cool. Great. So I think it's a bright future. And I think I'm most excited about that efficiency part and lack of middlemen.
I love it. Yeah. You know, private property is the linchpin of civilization. I've tweeted that out before. And this is a way for us to all, you know, actually have private property. I think, you know, today we live in a fiat property world where they can just debase everything you own. You have to pay taxes on where you know, you don't really own your house if you have to pay tax. There's all these debates, you know, a lot of this stuff is very divisive, but that's the way I look at it. You know, this is property that you own, that, you know, it's your claim to it. You know, you can send it wherever you want as fast as a couple seconds across the world. And there's no doubt about that is, you know, who the ownership process. So I appreciate you guys coming on today. I'd like to talk to you guys again in the future too.
Cool, man. We lost you there for a second, but I think what you were saying is thank you.
Yeah, I was. I went on a private property tangent, but yeah, what I was saying is thanks for coming on today.
Dude, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thanks for reaching out. This is awesome. Let's do it again.
Absolutely. Hang on one second. I'll say a proper goodbye to you guys.